Dogfighting is as secretive as it is barbaric. The people behind the illegal blood sport carefully conceal their identities, fearful of arrest and prosecution. However, one dogfighter's IT mix-up led an undercover BBC investigation to unmask some of those involved in one of Europe's largest dogfighting networks. The BBC has tracked fighting kennels to unlikely places in the UK, from a busy housing estate to the grounds of a stately home. A simple misclick from one member of a top-secret online dogfighting forum exposed the brutal reality of today's dogfighting. The leak revealed graphic match reports documenting fight after fight, injured animal after injured animal. A vast haul of intelligence was quickly harvested by the animal welfare charities, the League Against Cruel Sports, LACS, and the Ulster Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, USPCA. That was the first glimpse of a highly secretive international dog fighting syndicate, one which the BBC has spent the past 6 months investigating and exposing. I can't really put into words, actually. It was just golden, said Russ Middleton, a former police officer turned head of intelligence for LACS. The law across the UK bans not only fighting, but also owning fighting dogs, training them to fight, trading animals, and even filming fights without good reason. There was a whole range of different dog fighters in there, all collaborating, chatting, sharing videos. It gave us a real insight to the global perspective of dog fighting. Mr. Middleton described the network as one of the biggest in Europe. Following a trail of evidence hidden in pictures, posts, and videos online, the BBC has been able to expose an organized network of illegal dog fighters, one that stretches from the UK across Europe and beyond. It's happening in every town and city in the UK. Dogfighting is much more common than people think, according to experienced vet David Martin, who was an expert witness in previous dogfighting cases. It is going on in probably every major town and city in the UK. It is enormous amounts of abuse and cruelty at every stage, said Mr. Martin. The League Against Cruel Sports received more than 600 reports of dogfighting since 2024, with those reports increasing by more than 50% in the past 2 years. However, it says the number of dogfights taking place in the UK is impossible to quantify. The secrecy of the fights means far more are taking place than get reported. For campaigners like Russ, any dogfight is one too many. The BBC investigation found several UK-based dogfighting kennels hiding in unlikely places. In one case, the owner of a dog who had recently killed its opponent in the pit had a kennel nestled in a busy housing estate in County Armagh populated by families and their pets. They want to keep their dogs out of sight. They don't want to be identified by the authorities as someone who has got dogs that are banned, Mr. Martin said. They would have to be extremely careful if they were going to take their dogs out to the environment to make sure that their dogs didn't come across other dogs, otherwise there would be bloodshed. The estate's grounds were used by boneyard kennels to house and train fighting dogs. The USPCA and LACS have identified boneyard kennels as one of the UK's most significant dog fighters. Shane's Castle Estates told BBC News EI that it is opposed to dogfighting and was shocked to hear that a dogfighter was operating within its grounds. It said, if it had known, this would have been stopped. The investigation traced about 40 dogs to David Patterson's Boneyard Kennels. The BBC identified the man behind Boneyard Kennels as David Patterson, a mixed martial arts coach from County Antrim. We traced about 40 fighting pit bulls to Boneyard Kennels, matching several of the dogs' pre-fight training videos to a walled garden deep inside the Shane's Castle estate. David Patterson denied participating in dogfighting and said he is not a member of any international dogfighting network. He said he often looks after dogs for other people and is interested in human and animal fitness. Craig Kitson told the BBC he was not actively participating in dogfighting. The BBC also saw evidence suggesting that Craig Kitson, an associate of Patterson's, was also a member of the dog fighting network, operating under the alias SpongeBob. The name SpongeBob was listed as a referee in several dog fighting match reports and as a handler of Boneyard Kennels dogs. Craig Kitson previously made headlines for a graphic video he was in holding his deceased dog. its muzzle taped, Mr. Kitson bit the dog's ear, suggesting this was punishment for the dog having bitten his child. Craig Kitson told the BBC he was not actively participating in dogfighting and that he is not the person identified as SpongeBob. He expressed deep contrition over the video in which he bit the dog's corpse, stating he had not been responsible for its death. Posing as a dogfighter, the BBC was able to infiltrate online platforms and win the trust of members of the wider European network. After several months, one member of the syndicate was willing to meet in Amsterdam to sell the team a fighting dog. Zoltan Borbe, known by the alias NFK Kennels, was secretly filmed boasting about his fighting dogs. "I have one grand champion female that maybe I sign here for the 7th match," he said, unaware he was speaking to a BBC journalist. A grand champion is a term used for a dog which has won at least 5 fights. Zoltan Borbe spoke to the undercover BBC team in Amsterdam. Borbe sent videos of the black pit bull he was selling, a 2-year-old named Ruby, to display what is known as its gameness, the determination of a dog to fight in the pit. Zoltan Borbe later denied involvement in dogfighting, telling the BBC he made up the story to sell dogs. Dog rehabilitation. Ruby was taken to a specialist center in Amsterdam for care and assessment. The secrecy surrounding dogfighting means that few animals are rescued. Those who are often risk being euthanized. In the UK, pit bulls are a banned breed. Ruby has been placed at a center in the Netherlands that works to try to rehabilitate high-risk dogs through training programs. "It's just a lot of observation," said Helle van den Beemt, the center's lead therapist. "To be fair towards the dog, you always have to go in with an open heart and just give the dog every room that it needs, and you will bond with the dog. They always have a chance, but there are a lot of factors that we have to consider in that. If it's really strongly embedded in a character, then we have to calculate the risk."
The Pitbull Encyclopedia is the ultimate guide for anyone who loves, owns, or wants to learn more about one of the world's most misunderstood dog breeds. Packed with expert insights, breed history, training tips, health advice, and heartwarming stories, this comprehensive book breaks down the myths and highlights the true nature of pit bulls: loyal, intelligent, and loving companions. Whether you're a first-time owner, a seasoned pit bull enthusiast, or an advocate for the breed, the Pitbull Encyclopedia is your go-to resource for understanding and celebrating these incredible dogs.